What's up guys, here we are in beautiful sunny Colorado, enjoying some of the wonderful weather that we're having in Hustle's old backyard, down at the range because we're going to shoot some paint, which is one of my favorite things to do. We get a lot of questions about gravity-fed hoppers, mostly what are they and what are they good for? A gravity-fed hopper is really just a vessel that holds paint on top of your paintball marker and allows physics to drop paint into the breech of your paintball marker. There's no special added bonuses. It just relies solely on physics and your own personal agitation of the hopper to feed balls into your paintball marker. Of course, they're extraordinarily cheap. They don't have the force-fed or agitated rotors that are inside a lot of electronic hoppers, but you can cause that agitation yourself while saving a lot of money. Some of the most basic hoppers that you can get are around $5, but if you want to be awesome, there's also some specially engineered gravity-fed hoppers which feed about 8 balls per second without having any moving parts. Not having the moving parts makes them extremely easy to maintain, keeps you from running out of batteries on the field, so they work great as a backup hopper. A gravity-fed hopper works great as a backup to your electronic hopper. And of course, they're easy to clean. All you have to do is throw them in water, you can run them under hot water, and they're set to go. Now, these days, most electronic hoppers are force-fed hoppers, and if you're using an electronic marker, you're going to want to use an electronic hopper. It just makes sense. It's what's going to give you the best experience when playing with an electro marker, but you can use a gravity-fed hopper in a pinch, or if you want to, if that's your jam, do that. Any paintball marker with a feed neck will work with a gravity-fed hopper, and you'll often see them on pumps and mechanical markers that don't require the speed necessary from a force-fed electronic hopper. So we're gonna go over a couple of the gravity-fed hoppers that we have here at Hustle Paintball. The first one is the 200 round GXG grav-fed hopper. It's about as basic as you get, but it works great. This is my personal hopper that I've had since I started paintballing about 12 years ago, and have never had a problem with it. Obviously, it doesn't have any moving parts. Like, what could possibly go wrong? It just holds paint, it fits in any feed neck that I have, and if I need to loan it out to someone, or need to use it to replace my rotor, which hasn't gone down yet, but in case it does, I got this as my backup. It's great, it's set to go, very easy to clean, awesome to have, and if it happens to get broken or destroyed, I'm not gonna be terribly torn up about it, just a couple of bucks to replace it. But if you want something that's ever so slightly more expensive, and by ever so slightly, I mean ever so slightly, and a little bit more low profile, something like the Empire Sport Shot is a great choice. It holds about 140 rounds, so one full pod full of paint will fit inside this, but it is lower profile, it's lighter weight, very well constructed. This is one of my favorite hoppers. I see it a lot on T2s and Empire pumps. It has a spring-loaded lid, which I really appreciate, and also has an insert in the feed neck that allows you to use 50 caliber paint with it as well, if that's something that you're into. But if you want to go crazy with it and have one of the most well-engineered hoppers, the Proto Primo is absolutely the way to go. This bad boy will feed about 8 balls per second using nothing but gravity to feed it. It has a little shelf inside it, and that keeps pressure off the balls. You are going to want to make sure that you are agitating it properly in order to feed those 8 balls per second, but a little bit of shaking, usually enough is provided from just a pump action or just from general play activity. But if it ever feels like it's not feeding quite right, just a little bit of shaking will do the trick. But the shelf inside it keeps the balls from piling on top of each other and swamping the feed neck. So it's probably the most well-engineered gravity-fed hopper that you can find. And of course, doesn't have any batteries, doesn't have any moving parts, nothing to break. It will work every time you flip the lid open and stick paint in it. Another great thing about grav-fed hoppers is the ability to go lower capacity. Something like the GXG 50 round hopper or the APP 50 round hopper. Oh yeah, dang, that's awesome. Are lower cap hoppers. They're very low profile, they're extremely lightweight, and they hold 50 rounds. Now, they do make pods like the GXG 50 round pod or the APP 50 round pod, which hold just the right amount to fill up your low cap hoppers. It'll keep you running lightweight, it'll keep you low profile and keep you shooting the entire time. And also, I think that they look really cool. And then, of course, for those of you who are playing a little bit more milsim, they do make a 50 round milsim hopper as well, or milsim pod. Oh, I'm sorry, these are 30 rounds. Yeah, Caleb's right, these are 30 round pods. But if you want to run a little bit more low cap, these like one of these will fit in your 50 round hopper. So like if you want to like have something that looks like magazines, you're set to go. So I haven't actually tried all of these hoppers yet, and I want to weigh in on which one I like the most. So let's shoot some paint, guys. Now these, of course, are not actual statistics. They're just our Hustle Paintball's personal opinions about these hoppers. It's just practical testing, seeing how it feels. Obviously your results may vary and you might like one more than us, but I figured that we would give you at least something that was something to go off of and give you a baseline for what to choose. So I am going to shoot as much of this as I need to and demonstrate about when and where it needs to shake it up. So safety first, as always. Mask up. Quite frankly, that works great. Now let's see how some of the 50 rounders work and what they look like when they're being loaded with 50 round pods. So what happened here was I packed this pod too tightly, or packed this hopper too tightly, and the balls formed a sort of position that will disallow them from feeding at all. So now I gotta go in and sort of undo my problem. So immediately what I noticed about this 50 round hopper was that if you overpack it, your balls are not gonna feed at all. And then as I got to fewer and fewer balls inside the hopper, it seemed to feed a little bit better. So any kind of pressure inside this hopper is going to make it difficult to feed at any reasonable rate. But it is very small. So if small is your jam, then this might be the way to go. Let's try out the APP and see if it does any better. So again, like the GXG 50 round hopper, I seem to have smoother feeds closer to the 20 or 30 balls inside the hopper. However, initially it did perform significantly better. It seemed to just feed a little bit more consistently and a little smoother and didn't require quite as much maintenance or agitation. So now I'm going to deliberate and figure out which one of these hoppers I like the best. All right guys, I've made my decision. If I am going to be running a lower cap game and want to use like a 50 round hopper or something like that, I'm probably going to go with the APP just because I seem to not have as much luck with the GXG 50 round hopper. The GXG does look nice, but the APP just outperformed it in my very basic test. If I'm going to run something that's a little more low profile but still using a grab fed hopper, especially on something like a pump, I would absolutely go with the Sport Shot. It is an absolute favorite here at Hustle Paintball. Everyone seems to use it on their pump. It holds a whole pod's worth of paint and doesn't take up too much room and feeds very effectively and very consistently. However, the reigning king of gravity-fed hoppers would absolutely be the Proto Primo. I really like the way that it fed consistently without any jams at all and worked great at high speeds with the GOG Enemy. However, the only drawback that I found is it's kind of tall. It's kind of a big hopper, and that's just the way that it's designed, just the shape and the angles of it to keep it feeding consistently just made it a little bit bigger than I would normally like. So I think that I would probably fall in favor of the Sport Shot most of the time anyways. But for the price, it's a great gravity-fed hopper and even an alternative to an electronic hopper if that's what you're into. Of course, I own a GXG 200 round and it works great. It's a fantastic backup hopper, but for your first hopper, as far as getting one that's not electronic, I would absolutely recommend the Proto Primo. It's just great. It works flawlessly. I like it a lot, very well engineered. So if you want to pick up a gravity-fed hopper or a pod to go with it or several pods to go with it, head to hustlepaintball.com. As always, if you like watching cool videos on the internet, subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you want to keep up with what's going on here at Hustle Paintball or in the paintball world in general, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And as always, join the discussion on PB Right about all of these hoppers and all of their pods, what you run, and we'll chime in with our 2 cents, and I'll see you guys in the next video.